I don't know. There we go.
Oh, we're on. We're live.
Are we live? Oh.
It's been a minute since we've done a live Coffee with the Cowgirls, Remy.
That is 100% true. But that's what happens when I don't set my alarm correctly. I did. I felt so rested. I woke up and I was like, oh man, I woke up before my alarm. I had plenty of time, and then I could hear birds, and I was like, I did not wake up before my alarm.
You heard birds and you saw the sun, and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. It's 12:14 my time.
It is still the morning. It is still the morning in California.
Hydrating, ladies. I'm hydrating.
I'm in fact hydrating because I've had like 3 cups of coffee and I'm a little jittery already, but
Oh, I hope my internet's not an asshole today. Are you frozen?
I'm not frozen. I'm good.
Well, so I've had so many cups of coffee this morning, so I had to start drinking water because I was starting to get a little jittery.
Yeah.
So there's that. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with the Cowgirls. I'm Brett Kruger.
And I'm Remy Greer.
And life was happening today, as it usually does for us, which is a good thing. And so we're late on getting Coffee with Cowgirls out there. We just jumped on and we both said, let's do something fun. Let's do Facebook Live. And we haven't done Facebook Live in, is this our 18th episode?
Yeah, so we haven't done it for like 15 weeks.
So please tell us who's watching. We can't see. We can only see that there's a few people. So make sure to post a comment in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Give us a shout out. Tell us if you watch us.
Oh, there we go. Now it's showing up. It's showing up on my screen now. There we go. Okay.
Oh, you're watching. Oh, you can see. Cool. So tell us where you're from, who you are, what your favorite episode has been so far, if you've been watching Coffee with the Cowgirls or listening to us, how you listen to us, YouTube or on
the 19,000 podcast platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. So Remy looks so gorgeous this week for Halloween on Monday. That was fun.
Yes.
And
Breck apparently went as
the kiddos had a blast.
Yeah, the kids had a blast, but apparently you went as a horse show mom on Halloween.
I went as a ranch hand, Remy. I went as a ranch hand, a working ranch hand. Very real life.
Yeah, I did my makeup. I did my hair. I was a witch to send out the end of spooky season, so it was fun.
Well, and your hair was like so perfect for all of that. So good.
I'll let it start to wash out more now that we're out of October. So
why, you're not washing your hair?
I wash it, but I just don't wash it as much, trying to keep the purple and like all those wild colors don't stay in very well. So I like to wash my hair twice a day. So this last month I've only washed it like once every other day. I take a lot of showers. I like the shower. It makes me happy. I just sit in there.
I like to shower too. It's needed and necessary.
So, like I envy those girls that can use the dry shampoo and do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm dirty by the end of the day. I have hay in my hair. I got dirt in my hair. I probably have some of my own food in my hair. I don't know. So
yeah, I definitely can't do the dry shampoo. That's the reason I look like Slick Rick today.
Looks good. Your hair getting long, man. Check you out.
It's long.
I know. Look at you.
It's very long. So yesterday, Chimneys. Last week was USTPA finals. James got home on Sunday, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yes, and he had an outstanding, fantastic week. Christine Walter says dry shampoo is a necessity.
That's because you're blonde, Christine. It doesn't work with this.
Yeah, I've got grays. If I use dry shampoo, it would look worse than it already does.
No,
Uh,
he had a good show. I did not burn down the ranch while he was gone. So, it was a win. And then Braden made the team penning finals. He was really upset that he didn't make the sorting finals. So that kind of sucked as a mom. And but he made the team penning finals and he moved up. So he was excited. Braden ended up third. So that was nice.
I didn't. For those who follow us, they know that I've got internet demons, and so we watched none of it. Well, I think we watched a little bit, possibly. Um, the sorting. We watched a little bit of the sorting, but that was it because the internet gods were not with us over the weekend. So, but I'm happy to hear that he got third. That's awesome. I bet he was so excited.
He was really excited. It was one of those things as a mom where, like, I never understood my mom, right? I was like, why are you upset when I don't do well? Like, it's me, I'm competing. And then I get this phone call and he's crying and he's like, but I rode well and I didn't do this. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was crying on the phone. And then I was crying when he got a no time on his last run in another sorting class. And I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. It's not rational at all, but it's horrible. So I get it.
That is awesome. I went to my first NFL game on Sunday. I might be NFL's newest fan. I loved it. It was so much fun. Jared Allen rode a horse across the arena during halftime, which was super, super cool. What else happened last week?
I don't know. I was trying just to survive. I was trying to survive last week, man. I did my job. I was trying to do James's job. I was trying to help with Jose's job. So, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what happened last week, except for I don't. For all you people doing it by yourselves, more power to you because I am worn out this week.
Are you there? Are we there?
I'm here. I can see you. I can
Oh,
hear
you're
you.
here. Okay. So it's like bouncing in and out, and it's really windy here today, so that cannot help. I totally feel like I'm the queen of procrastination, and I have got so much on my plate right now. Large things, extremely large things, and I have not done any of them. I don't even know how to attack this anymore, Remy.
Well, yeah, you got your stud, you got the horse sale, you have moving to Arizona for the winter.
Well,
So
I mean, if I need to get my kids' birth certificates, so I should probably start there because somehow in the transition of all of this, I've lost birth certificates. I know I sound like Mother of the Year right now. Um, how do you lose a birth certificate? I'm not sure. So I have to get that. I have to start. I don't know. It's just so, it's the moving part. I think I need to really get my ass in gear with all of that. But it's such a big task that sits in front of you and you just don't even know where to start, Remy.
yeah, I mean, so I told James when he got home, I was like, it looks like I did nothing, but I promise you, I did all sorts of things. It just, I had a lot of plans for while he was gone to get a lot of projects done, and I got like one of them done. I mean, you talked to me while I was on the grinder, but that's all I got done was really that. And then all the normal stuff I had to do. But I was like, I'm gonna rototill this, I'm gonna plant that, and I'm gonna fix this. And I didn't get any of it done. I got none of it done.
I know. Maybe do you feel like you work good under pressure? Like when it comes down to the witching hour and you're like, you've
Yeah, I
held
mean, I
off for
do. And
so
like,
long.
I shouldn't rely on that because one of these days it's not gonna work. Like, I'm not gonna get it done.
It's going to bite us in the ass. But I think that is how I perform well too, is like, comes down to the witching hour. And when I try to be super organized and prepared, that usually backfires on me. So then I become this last minuter, and I probably have to change that way a little bit. So, on another note, what we were going to talk about today was our children, right? Is that what we were going to talk about?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about trying to raise good children, which I'm just at the beginning of that.
Well, so good news and bad news. The good news is it wasn't my children. The bad news is that somebody brought a BB gun to school yesterday. In our school, our farming school, had to go on a lockdown, and it is not funny. It was a BB gun.
It is
And
funny though because it's the Midwest and they saw
Remy's
a BB gun
like,
as a threat.
I tell Remy, and Remy says, "You live in the Midwest. What in the hell?" And I'm like, I know.
I mean, I understand it here, but you'd think in a small Minnesota town that you'd be okay bringing a BB gun to school.
Brandon's response was, "Did they have it in their car?" I'm like, Brandon, they're in 7th grade. They don't drive. It was in his locker. Oh, I'm like, what? Because kids hunt on the way home from school around here, not from their cars, but it's deer hunting right now. They probably go to their tree stand or something. I don't know. Anyhow, interesting that happens in our little farming community. I don't even know what to say. Have your kids experienced a lockdown?
So we do lockdown drills. And actually, we did have an incident earlier this year where there was a homeless guy that came onto campus to use the bathroom, like just to use the bathroom. And we go to a really small school. So now there are gates with locks on them for everything. So you have to have a key code and everything. But, and I should not laugh. I'm only laughing because it's like a small Midwestern farming town where you would think a BB gun wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it is a whole new world. I was in high school. Or I was in
It's
middle school.
2023. It is a whole new world.
Like I was in middle school when Columbine happened. And, we just kind of wrote it off then as just.
What year was that?
I must have been in 8th grade. Hold on. Let me Google this.
Yeah, do the math quick.
I'm not that good at math. I suck at math. Hello, you guys all get to see my face up close because I got my computer behind my phone.
Well, and then there was just
1999, and I graduated in 03. So, but like we kind of laughed it off. It was a trench coat mafia, and then
there's just been so many more.
And that's the thing, the hits just kept coming. It wasn't just a one-off anymore, right? It wasn't just
Uvalde, or am I saying that right?
Yeah, Uvalde, yeah.
Uvalde just happened, and that one was terrible.
No, and so it's like, when we were in high school, it was kind of a joke, like, the trench coat mafia, that's what we're going to dress up for Halloween. And then there was another school shooting, and then another school shooting. Virginia Tech happened when I was in college. So it was just all these things kept piling on. So I should not laugh, but again, it's just funny to me. And I get, it's the same thing. Like it's funny to me because it's a BB gun, but what if it wasn't a BB gun? And so our kids now live they have to practice. We practice fire and earthquake drills. Well, now they have to practice lockdown drills. And that started when I was in college too. We started having to practice lockdown drills when I was in college. So yeah, and they go to a small school, so they have cameras up everywhere. That's how they knew the guy was in the bathroom. They locked the campus down. But yeah, it's now parenting in a whole new world with a lot more dangers.
Well, so Bodie was telling me yesterday, because I knew about the school shooting. Geez. I knew about I knew about the lockdown from one of my friends who works at the hospital. She must have had some intel. And like shortly after she told us, we got an email from the school. They said that what had happened and whatnot. And then Bodie came home, or the boys came home last night, and we were talking about the school day. And Bodie said that, and I think that it all stems back, like, how do you know some of these kids probably just don't have great home lives, right? And they're trying to extract a little attention from school because they're not getting it at home. And luckily, there are a lot of really good kids in Bodie's class. And I'd like to think that Bodie is one of them too, because he does stand up for the underdogs a lot. And he said there's a smaller kid in his class, and there was a bigger kid really picking on him and saying real crappy things. And the littler kid was scared because this other kid was going to whoop him if he did get after him. And they were all in the locker room. Well, there's no teachers in the locker room. I would assume that that's a very unsupervised area. So if if this older boy wanted to get a hold of the littler kid, he certainly could have. But it sounded like Bodie and one of his friends like stepped in and got it handled to the point where the bigger kid was like a little scared and backed away from that kid then. And it's kind of scary how that stuff can happen in school. It can happen anywhere, I guess, but yeah, you just never know. And I don't think that the teachers can do a lot about it today either, because
No, I mean, a lot of them are kind of hamstrung. They can't step in. You don't have suspensions. You don't have detentions. You're not dealing with a lot of the, so I went to a private school. I went to private schools all the way through, but we all got in trouble, I think our freshman or sophomore year at my high school for drinking and partying off campus. Now, we got in trouble for off campus at someone's house because, it was a private school. They could get after you. You couldn't play sports for 2 months. Like, we couldn't do anything. Our whole class got in trouble. Not one of us. All of us got in trouble. And we're all pretty much serving in school suspensions, and they didn't want it to affect your grades long term, right? They didn't want it to be out there. But we got in a lot of trouble, and it did not go on our permanent transcript, but we got in a lot of trouble. And it was one of those things where if you did it again, if you got in trouble again, this would now go on your permanent record. This would now affect you for the rest of your at least your academic career. So we took it pretty seriously. But again, it goes to kind of what we were going to talk about. Like, how do you raise good citizens? How do you raise good men? Because it's a whole new world, even from what I grew up in, and it changes all the time. And how do you raise good boys and good men, or good children? And I say good men.
Good children.
Right, because I only have boys, so this is what I'm saying, right? Like, how do you raise good citizens?
Only have boys.
How do you raise good citizens? How do you raise good citizens that will stand up for what they're supposed to stand up for and do the right thing when no one's watching? And really, in general, just aren't assholes. My biggest fear is that I'm raising an asshole, because the world is full of them and we don't need more. And
I think
there's a fine line between stopping all the bullying, and you need to stop bullying, but at the same time, if you are never tested, you can never be that strong. Right? So you want kids to have a slightly rough go of it every once in a while. Not a really rough go, just a slightly rough go that makes them think about their actions or what they're doing, and then how they would respond.
It was probably the mid-September mark, I would say, and Bodie had a kid that was in his class. I can't remember if he was a year older in his class, and he was bullying Bodie. I mean, Bodie struggles with math a little bit, so he gets extra help. And we had to go to bat for him to get the extra help, which is very important. If you don't understand something, there's no shame in getting help, right?
Yeah.
And this kid was just bullying him about the extra help. And Bodie never told me. Bronson came home and told us that this kid was saying real shady things to Bodie. And I sat down and I was going to email the school, and I was like, you know what? Screw that. The school is not going to take care of it. They've got so many other issues. I don't know if any of the viewers really knows what happens in public school, but it's a lot. I mean, public school is necessary and it's needed. Don't get me wrong. But the shit that goes down in some of these public schools is absolutely mind-blowing and crazy. So I know how overwhelmed they are. And I was like, Bodie, I said, I hate that this is happening to you. I said, and I could send an email to the school and tell them what's happening, but I feel like that's going to make it worse. If this kid is doing this to you and we step in and have the teachers do something about it, it's just going to make it worse. He's going to continue bullying you. And I said, so I feel like you have to handle it on your own. So I'm going to give you full permission to just punch him the next time, I guess. I'm like, if you get in school suspension, I'm okay with it, because he will stop bullying you. When you stand up for yourself at that point and tell him that, I'm done with this, no more, you're not going to make fun of me for having extra help, he will quit if he knows that you are going to handle the situation. And I said, I'll fully stand behind you on this. And he goes, it's not so much me, Mom, that I can handle what he says to me. I can handle that. It's the person who he does it to next. What if they can't handle what he has to say? That's who I want to stand up for. And I'm like, well, then go for it. I'm behind you. I support you in this. I just want the kid to know it's not okay. But actually, somebody else, Bodie went to the bathroom a couple days later. That kid came in there and started to say something to Bodie. And an older upperclassman who was a football player grabbed the kid and said, if I hear you saying crap like this to him or anybody else again, I'm going to beat the hell out of you. And it hasn't been a problem since. And maybe I'm alone in how you handle those situations. I don't know, but it's much better handling that situation like that, I feel like, than coming from a teacher or the principal, because then it's just done. Those are their peers.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's such a fine line, right? So if it's true bullying, like dangerous bullying, you do have to get
correct.
But it's like you said, and I have some friends that teach in large public schools, and they are overwhelmed.
Oh my God.
Right? So like they've got, like in the bigger schools around here, they'll have 2 counselors for 3,500 kids. How do you handle that? How do you even know their names? Like, honestly. So, and then, we talk about it with burnout with horse trainers. Well, there's burnout in teachers. A lot of these teachers become the vessel in which these kids, if they're a very good teacher, they become the vessel in which these kids pour everything into. And then they take home that emotional burden, right? Because they don't have anyone else they can trust. They feel like that's their last kind of bastion of trust and compassion. And now you're putting all that burden on teachers, and that's tough too. It's tough for the teachers, it's tough for the student. And again, we've talked about how we're all getting more and less connected, right? We're more connected through social media, but we're also disconnected. So again, how do you monitor that with your kids? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I am so glad that I did not really have social media when I was in high school. I'm glad that we had disposable cameras, that even when we had cameras on our phones, they weren't great. But like it's a dangerous world. And because we have so much instant access to everything, it's and that's why I think you see a different kind of bullying too, right? They want an immediate. It's not just the big tough kid. Like, people are getting mean. I swear people are getting meaner too. Like, just meaner. And I got bullied a lot. I mean, I have a lazy eye. I was gone a lot.
I think that there is like a lack. I think that it's always been an issue, right? When we were in school, it was issue. I think that the degree of the issue has just intensified because there are people who don't hold their kids accountable, girls and boys. There's no accountability. They want to be friends and not parents. I see a lot of that. And like the amount of time for a multitude of reasons that people are spending with their kids is a lot less. I mean, you and
I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day because she was saying, her mom works with the schools, and she was talking to this girl, and she goes, what do you do when you go home? She goes, I go to sleep. I go in my room and I go to sleep. Well, you think about it this way, right? Like, you have so many 2-parent households that both parents are working, right, to keep up now. So you don't have a mom or a dad that stays at home with a lot of these kids. So they're kind of left to their own devices. And that's not good with anxiety or depression, because look, exercising isn't going to fix depression, but it can help, right? It's not the cure, but it can be part of it. And so you can't just go down the rabbit hole of, I don't feel well and I'm going to go to sleep. And my girlfriend was saying that her mom told her, she goes, do you have a dog? She goes, yeah, I have a dog. She goes, take it for a walk for 10 minutes a day, just 10 minutes, and see where that goes. Because it is all these small things. But again, you've got kids that are coming home to an empty house. And we joke about Gen X being latchkey kids. Well, yeah, but it was a different kind of empty house. You didn't have a million things at your disposal just to keep you preoccupied. You still kind of had to do other things. And now you've got kids that if they're hungry, they DoorDash. If they want to do something, they watch their phone, or they watch TV, or they play PlayStation, right? They don't have to really engage in a lot of things like even I had to when I was younger. And
They have alone time because that's a thing now, Remy. Have you ever have you ever heard of that? Alone time. Like
yeah,
little ones. Like they have their own alone time. Like they're asking to have their alone time. And which is basically just tablet time. And don't get me wrong, my kids have electronics and they do the things. So I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect parent by any means. Um, and the parents being absent, that's for a multitude of reasons. I mean, in our world today, there's you know a lack of employees for all of these businesses, and so people are having to work longer hours, more hours because they're short staffed. There's single moms and dads out there who just don't have the resources. Excuse me. Um, there's a lot of things, and then there's just plain absent parents. And I don't know. I mean, luckily for us, some days, lucky for us, we're self-employed, so we're with our kids all the time.
yeah, no, and I mean, it was like, so James was gone last week, which mean, and we had a bunch of weed abatement to do. So the guy that works for me, who I adore, had to go do weed abatement too. So I was doing, like I said, I was doing my job, I was doing James's job, doing part of Jose's job, and like I'm a bad bitch, but I'm not that bad. I'm not that good. Like I'm good, but I was getting up at 4:30 and going to bed at 11, and I was just worn out. But thankfully, and I know how lucky I am, my mom came and took my boys to school. If I couldn't make it, she'd call me around 2 o'clock because we have to leave at about 2:30 to pick up the boys. Do you need me to go get the boys? So again, that alleviated that little bit of stress. Now my boys weren't left alone because they had my mom there, but I know how lucky I am to have my mom to help step in. And even like in James's winning speech, right? Because they interviewed all the winners, and he said he thanked me and then he thanked my mom because that's who kept everything running at
She's
home.
part of your team.
Yeah. And I'm
She's part of
lucky,
your team.
I'm lucky that way. And I think the other thing too is like when I was little, and my kids are kind of treated this way, like I knew an ass whooping could come from anyone, really, right? My mom, my aunts, my mom's friends, a horse trainer, like you didn't step out of line because there was someone watching you. And my close friends are that way with my kid. Like, they're more than willing to spank them on the butt, but they're also going to tell me if they did something really good, which is great. Like I have this awesome group of people, but some people get really offended about, and I'm not saying that everyone should step in and parent your children, but you want to know if your kids are doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
I do anyway. And a lot of parents don't. They can't imagine that their child had done anything bad. And my oldest one, who's always been a straight A student, had a substitute teacher because one of his teachers went on maternity leave 2 years ago, and I watched his grades plummet. And it wasn't about the grade for me. It was, and I tried to talk to the sub, and she wouldn't really talk to me. So I finally wrote a very strongly worded letter. And if I sit down to write a letter, you don't want to read it. You don't want to be on the other end of it. So I go, hey, and I put the burden on my son. I said, hey, is he not paying attention? Is he talking to other kids? Is he distracting other kids? And I go through all this stuff, and she finally emails me back. She goes, well, I'll give him an A. I said, it's not about an A. Why is he failing? He's drowning. How do I keep him from drowning? Oh, well, and it was something really dumb. But again, I wasn't blaming her. I really wasn't trying to blame her. I was trying to blame him or just the situation. How do I help him? And so I ended up having to meet with the headmistress of the school because I was like, look, he's not learning. And then I come to find out that I was the first of what would be a lot of complaints about the newer teacher. And I think she was just same thing. I think she was a little below water on what she could teach. And that's okay. Ask for help, but don't just try and write these kids off with whatever grade you think they should get and hope for the best. Right? You didn't teach them, you didn't allow them. But again, I was more than willing to take responsibility if my kid was doing something wrong. But how do I fix it? How do I make it better for him moving forward? Because how did he go from an A in something to a D? Because if he's getting a D in math, that means he's not ready for next year. So what do I have to do? And it really wasn't about the grade. The grade was just a marker that something had gone wrong for him. So how do we fix that? And again, My responsibility as a parent was, how do I fix it for him? Not how do I fix his grade? How do I teach him? Do I have to take him to a tutor? Do we need more work? Because I'm willing to do all those things, but you have to tell me, you have to give me the tools to do it.
Remy and my kids are like polar opposites. My kids are not straight A students. They are social butterflies.
My oldest one is straight A. My second one, not so much. And then it's to be determined on the next two.
Mine are definitely following in their mother's footsteps with going for degrees in socialization, I guess. I will never forget when it was Bodie. He was probably 5 or 6, and we were at Runnings, which is our farm store, and we get in the truck after checking out, and we're putting him in the back seat, buckling him up or whatever, and Brandon notices that he had a Kit Kat, which meant that he stole the Kit Kat, and Brandon made him walk back in there. He cried for a long time at first, and Brandon's like, no, we're not leaving this store until you walk back in there and you give it to the cashier. And the cashier said, oh, you didn't have to do that. It's no big deal. And Brandon's like, it might not be a big deal for you, but it is a big deal for us. And that kid he still talks about that day, and he never thinks about doing anything like that. But we held him accountable for reasons on it, and I feel like we need a gold star for that moment in our life.
No, but it's true, right? Because it's not a big deal then, right? It isn't a big deal then. It ends up being a big deal if you let everything slide. So yes. Like my oldest one, if he thinks he's disappointed you, well, then that's the end of the world. No, my middle two, they could give a shit. They really could. They're like, all right. And he can't hit them hard enough. So parenting them is it tests me. I got to parent all of mine differently, and like my second oldest one, Brayden, like we call him the diva, and he is a diva, and that's
my little,
and it's tough. It tests every nerve I have versus like Trent. So that's my third oldest one. So he's pretty easygoing. Like he never really wants anything from you. Same thing. I had a really proud parenting moment this weekend. He had a birthday party. We were putting on a horse show.
Down.
Yeah. And I thought the party started at 3, and my mom said something, and I run back in the house, and it was like almost 2:00. And the party started at noon. And like, I was tired. I was emotionally worn out, and I start crying, and I'm just like, I am so sorry. I missed the party for you, like all this stuff. And he looks at me, and you can tell he's got the lump in his throat because his eyes are tearing up, and he's trying not to cry. And he goes, I know, Mom, I was going to remind you, but you were just so busy. I didn't want to do it to you. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to cry. I'm like full on sobbing because like, that's not his burden, that I'm busy, and he's just.
It's good that they understand that though.
But he's like, and he is that kid. So it's like, it's hard to get after him because he really asks you for nothing. So then every once in a while he'll throw a temper tantrum. For him, it's if he doesn't win, because everyone sees Brayden and thinks that one's competitive. He's got nothing on T, nothing. So he started running cross country with Brayden. First graders aren't supposed to run. He started running. They let him run. So they've been running almost 3 miles, and he's ending up 5th out of kids from 3rd through 8th grade. And he runs like the Terminator, just like, because he's going to win. Like, no, he's going to win. He's going to bust his ass, and he's going to go win. And that's how he is about everything. Like, that's how he's about baseball. That's how he's about soccer. He just wants to be the best. So I have to swallow that a little bit when he doesn't win and tell him, like, I really love the drive, but we got to harness it just a little differently. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my youngest one. He's just feral, and he smiles a lot, so he gets away with a lot of stuff because he's like the cutest thing in the entire world. So
it is hard. It is really hard. And I think too, like sometimes the busier your life is, the easier it becomes to let some of those little things slide. Not easier. Maybe easier.
Yeah, it's because you're busy, right?
It's not busy, and
It's not important today. And it's like,
and then when it becomes an issue, then you're like, damn it, I should have taken the time to do that.
and it's the same thing. Like a lot of people see me being hard on my kids. Well, part of it is we deal with agriculture, right? If I tell you to move, I need you to move right now because there is a big danger that you could actually get hurt. I don't want you just to move because fuck off. I want you to move. Like if I tell you to move, there could be a horse loose, there could be a cow loose, there could be a tractor coming. You have to listen to what I say, and it's a challenge to parent. And like my favorite meme that's going around is like, how's that gentle parenting going? And it's like, oh, I try to gentle parent but my children aren't gentle childrening. And that's what it is. Like, I would love to be light and happiness and peace, but these assholes test me on a daily basis.
You want to be a Pollyanna parent.
I do, but I got feisty kids, man. And but I think it's
feisty spawn.
You've got to watch your kids in the quiet moments too, right? You have to watch for the good they do. We had a client one time, and her daughter was graduating. I think it was high school, and we went to a graduation party, and Kyle was really little. I think Kyle was only like 2. And her son, so they were all sucking, like, it's all these high school kids, and they're all like sucking the helium to make their voice go high. And her son, who he wasn't old enough to graduate from high school, walks over with a couple balloons for Kyle and goes, hey, I got these for Kyle so that he has some balloons because they're going to suck the air out of the rest of them. But it was a small gesture, right? It was a small thing that he saw a little kid and he brought him over balloons. And that same kid, another time we were standing somewhere and my mom was standing there, and he sees my mom and he gets up and he gives her a seat. But it's a small thing. No one told him to do it, right? No one told that kid to do it. He just saw it. And it's the small things like that I really do think are the measure of a person. It's not the big gestures that people do when everyone's watching. It's the small, quiet things that they do that makes you know that they're kind or they're caring or they're empathetic. And so when I hear stuff like that about my kids, it makes me happy. And it's the same thing. If you see someone's kids do stuff that's good, tell them. Tell them. Because it's nice to know that you're doing your best, and maybe your best is going to be good enough.
It feels good to hear it. One of my favorite memories from this summer, or moments from this summer, was Bodie and his friend Anthony started helping our neighbor Henry, who I think Henry's 93, Remy, and he still lives in his little farmhouse, and he's got a big grove, and he's got all of the equipment because he has to cut down trees and all of that kind of thing. And the boys helped Henry this summer doing some projects. They brought back he had like a little waterfall in the back of his property by his cabin that had all been overgrown, and they cleared that off, made that really cool. And Braden and I were gone like on a Sunday afternoon, and Bodie said, I'm going to stay home because we're going to work at Henry's, and that's fine. You can do that. And we got home, and Bodie said, Mom, me and Anthony brought a pizza over to a frozen pizza. Hope you don't mind, over to Henry's for lunch today. And we had lunch in his basement and played pool with him. And I was like, really, Bodie? And he's like, yeah. He's like, Henry didn't even have a pizza pan, Mom. We had to just put it on the rack of the oven. I'm like, oh, that's fine. He's like, he didn't even have a pizza cutter. He goes, in fact, we burned the pizza. So we ate burnt pizza and played pool. So you know what, Bodie? I said, I'm guessing that was one of Henry's best days. Do you think so, Mom? I'm like, Henry's 93 years old. When do you think the last time that Henry had 2 boys in his basement playing pool and eating burnt pizza? Probably a great day for him. He probably hasn't done that in years.
Yeah.
So, that made me feel like I was raising a good kid hearing that story of bringing the frozen pizza over there and doing the things to bring this older gentleman's, bring some brightness or light into his life. So.
No, and you see it, it's you want to put good out into the world, and it's really hard, and it's hard to not be hard on I said hard a lot. it's losing all of its meaning. But it's hard to not be hard on your children. If you're like me, for some people, I don't think it's hard for them to not be hard on their children. But I do expect perfection, and I expect perfection out of myself. That doesn't mean that they can't fail, but I will tell you, I do not put up with kids not trying. Like, that is my biggest pet peeve. If you're going to do something, do it with effort and do it to the best of your ability. And again, it does not mean that they have to win at everything or have the best grades, but they have to put the effort out there. And, and I think they learn more about themselves when they start to put all that effort out. They learn what they're made of and what they want to do. Like, Kyle decided to play football. We kind of made him play football because he wasn't really doing anything. And our whole deal is you aren't just going to sit at home. I don't care what you're going to do. I don't care if it's going to be music. I don't care if it's going to be art, but do something productive. Don't just sit at the house. And he's just not an aggressive kid. He's fast. He's athletic. He's talented. He just isn't aggressive, and I could watch it kind of break part of him with that coach. And I told him, I said, well, you can quit. Like, and I do not let my kids quit. I go, you can quit. I don't like this. I don't like the situation. I don't like the coaching. As a professional coach, I really don't like the coaching. But he's like, no, I'm going to show him how good I am. And he stuck with it. And good for him. Now he knows that he can be in a bad situation, a situation that's not great for him, and he can push through.
Yeah. If you know my little is the most intense, aggressive thing you've ever met in your life. He does get by with a little bit of shit because he's so funny, unfortunately for me. But he was so stoked and pumped to play football this year. And I mean, just relentlessly begged me. And I'm like, yeah, you can do the thing. And about halfway through the season, he was like, well, a bunch of us are going to quit, Mom, because they were unhappy with the group formed was unhappy with the people that they were putting in it. I know so little about football, but they were unhappy with who they were playing at different times. And I said, I don't care what the rest of your friends do, but you are not quitting over my dead body. I will haul your ass to that practice every day and make sure that you freaking are doing it, because the way that you came at me relentlessly to play this damn sport and no, you are going. So I really didn't give a shit if he liked it or not, but he did love it. But like, you're following this through, seeing this through.
Yeah, and like, it was a hard call for me because it's the same thing. Like, everyone sees my mom as this super sweet lady, and she is. But if if you wanted to quit something, right? Like, so this was a big difference for me. Like, if we wanted to quit something, you had to go tell your coach. She was not going to make excuses. You had to be upfront and honest. Why are you not going to do these things? And then she would let you do whatever you wanted. But it really made you think, are you quitting because you're tired? Are you quitting because you just don't want to get up right now? Like, what are your real reasons for quitting? And if you could give her a good reason, then you could go tell your coach or your trainer why you were quitting. So it was hard for me to tell Kyle he could quit. But when I watched that kid just crumble, it was not a good situation. Now, he made the best of it, and I didn't tell him to quit. But I said, if you want to quit, you're allowed to quit. This is a situation where if you were older, there would have been a different discussion with the coach. And it's not that I coddle my kids, because I am the queen of Ashtuan. I don't coddle my kids, but there's a time and a place, and you taking your frustration out on small children is ridiculous. Was ridiculous. But, he stuck it out, and he didn't get to play very much, but he tried to make the best of every opportunity. And it is a learning experience, because you're going to work for people that don't like you and that you don't like. You're going to have teachers that
you're going to work for them, with them, around them.
You're going to have teachers that don't think you're special. You're going to have
You're going to have people.
And so that is a life skill to learn those things, but you also have to learn your value, and then and you have to learn what motivates you. So for him, I was glad he stuck with it. I was glad he stuck with it. He's different than my other boys. He's a lot softer than my other boys, but
so crazy. All kids are different.
Yeah, Braden's a diva, so he wants to be the best. And for me, when he doesn't try, it's because something went wrong. It's like, oh, well, it was this, it was that, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it wasn't.
You could be twins, it sounds like.
Try harder. Just try harder. If you try harder, then you can make excuses. But if you try hard enough, you won't have excuses to make. And then, like I said, T's just the Terminator, man. Like, if he wants it, he's going to get it. And nothing is standing in his way. And then I'm pretty sure that Clayton is he's super athletic, but he's just going to kind of waltz onto every team by smiling and being a smartass. Like, that's where his place is. But and it's hard as a mother, like, because you want to insulate them against the pain that you felt, and maybe you didn't feel it. Like I've talked about it before. So I have the lazy eye. I know what it's like to be picked on and bullied and have people stare at you. I understand that. And I don't want that for my children, like at all. But it's like Kyle is not a naturally confident kid. And I told I've had that conversation. Go shine. Go be the best you can be. You're amazing at a lot of things. I don't want people cheering for me. I don't want to stand out. Okay. Like, because that's not for me. Like, I don't understand that. That's not how I'm built. That's not how my husband's built. That's not how my kid, like, that's not how my other kids are built. But he doesn't want to stand out. And going back to my mom making me quit, I watched it in my husband's family. If those kids didn't want to do something, their mom would make an excuse for them, right? Why they didn't have to play the sport, or why they didn't like the coach, or why they didn't do this. Well, that ingrains into you a different kind of excuse. Like, you are going to have shitty things happen to you, no matter how good you are, no matter how great your life is. Shitty things are going to happen. So how do you survive those shitty things? And
overcome them,
and honestly, me being coached by a bunch of very hard people turned me into who I am, for better or worse. But I know what I'm made of, and I know what I can survive, and I know what I can endure.
I had a permed mullet with bangs at one point in my life, Remy, so I had to get comfortable and confident.
That is also Midwestern, and I think that you probably fit in just fine.
Oh my God.
We're gonna start getting, if we ever get popular enough, I'm going to get hate mail for making fun of the Midwest all the time.
You are.
We haven't reached that success yet. No. But I was talking to another girlfriend yesterday about her kids, and you get a lot of people that, and I haven't been around her kids for a couple of years, but you get a lot of people that say some stuff about them. But I will tell you again, looking at the quiet, Braden didn't talk really at all until he was about 3.5, and still barely talked until he was about 5. And those boys always went out of their way to talk to him and include him and do all those things, even though we didn't talk. And it's funny because they'd be like, "You want to do this?" And he'd kind of nod. They're like, "Okay, cool. Come on." But they didn't, they kind of forced him to respond without actually getting a verbal response, right? They engaged him and then moved on. And again, that's those things that you want to see. That's those things in the quiet you want to see. You want to see your children sitting with the kid that's not popular, or at least having empathy and understanding stuff. And the other thing too is the flip side of that is you don't want your kids to put up with bullshit from people that are not nice, because sometimes someone's sitting alone because they're an asshole. So that's a lesson to learn too.
Identify. Yes. Hopefully we learn them with the skills to identify. Yeah.
And then how do you raise manly men that are also soft enough to be caring and empathetic? Because I am married to someone that cares very deeply, but is also the captain of this ship. And it's
I am probably the same, I would say. But your boys see that. My boys see that. I do believe that my boys are, Bodie is definitely more tender-hearted than Bronson is. But Bronson still tries to, I shouldn't say tries. He is a nice, including kid to others, I think, because he knows if he's not, he's going to get his ass whipped. But, yeah. I don't know. I think they see it.
I think that's a luxury, honestly, of taking our kids with us so many places, is they're exposed to so many different people. So they learn that you can't judge everyone by what they look like, or how, the appearance of wealth or the appearance of fine things. Like, they learn that not everyone is going to show what they have personality wise, financially wise, emotionally wise right away, because they're exposed to so many people, and I feel like children have a step up on a lot of kids because they're super social. Whether it's in school or at horse shows, they have to be around a lot of other people, and they have to figure out their place in the world in a good way, right? They get to be confident. Like I was talking to someone else about kids, and I go, you know, you want kids to be a little bit cocky. You want them to have enough confidence in what they are. They shouldn't be cocky about everything. If they're really good at something, they've earned the right to be very confident about it. And they still have to be humble, but they have to be confident in what they do. Because especially in a horse sport, it doesn't matter if it's Breck disappeared. Like always, this is what happens to us on live feeds. Hello, everyone. Let's see if I'm still on Facebook because Breck is not. Disregard my giant head. It's okay. That's why we can't have nice things, Breck. Hello.
I'm back.
You just leave me out here.
Sorry, it's so windy here today that I think we have internet problems on a good day. So on a bad day, it's even worse. Today is not a good day.
I had thunder and lightning this morning. It rained for like a couple hours. I was excited. But I don't think it's going to rain anymore.
Well, Remy, I think that I need to wrap it up here because fingers crossed, we've got a dog going to a new home today.
Or are you coming back with more stuff? We're not sure.
Yeah, not sure. Well, thank you guys for joining us today on our crazy adventures of Coffee with the Cowgirls. Next week, we'll be back on Wednesday, a little bit more prepared.
Yeah,
probably not on Facebook Live.
I'm still scrambling from last week, fully aware that this was not great.
We're just real life women out here telling our truth and living it up, owning it. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Yes. Thank you for following us, continuing to follow us on YouTube, all of the podcast channels. We hope that you enjoyed our little treat today of amusement.
Yeah. So like and subscribe on all the things so that more people can enjoy this hot mess express that we got going on.
Yeah. What else? Well, have a great week. I don't know. This weekend, do we have things?
I think I have nothing this weekend, and I'm gonna keep steering that train that way. I think James has plans of going somewhere to the wild animal park or something like that, but I want to do nothing. I wanted it to rain really hard today so that I could just curl up in my blankets and go to sleep, but sleep for the week and I'll sleep when I'm dead. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that my husband wants to take me on a date night to Red Lobster, possibly.
Let's get you some cheddar biscuits.
Sounds delicious. All right. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon, Remy. Bye.
Bye.